Alright, g'day and welcome to another edition of Super Rugby Talk. As always, I'm Jace, and joining me today is PK. PK, how are ya?
Yeah, no, really good to be here, Jace. Should be a good show today, so yeah.
Cool. And do you want to give us a bit of info on how they can find us? YouTube channel, Facebook, what do we got?
Yep, we got a YouTube, so check us out on Super Rugby Talk Live.
Cool. Alrighty. So today we'll be continuing on with our series on the 15 teams in the Super Rugby. Today we'll be looking at the Cheetahs, the Force, and the Hurricanes. So yeah, we'll start off with the Cheetahs. PK, what are your thoughts on the Cheetahs?
Yep, first start off, we've got a couple of transfers going out here. We got big Trevor Inyan-Carney, he's moving on. You also got the hooker Adrian Strauss
Yeah,
moving
huge
along to
loss.
the Bulls.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the Cheetahs in their recent history, last year they came 14th, really disappointing. As opposed to in 2013, the year before, they came 6th, making the playoffs for the first time. How do you think they're going to go this year?
Yeah, I mean, they look quite good. Um, they have big forwards. They're a very forward-orientated side, I feel, but they also have a lot of gas outside.
Yeah. Well, of course,
Um,
with the likes of Cornell Hendricks and Willie LaRue getting good game time for the Springboks, I think they'll be explosive. Um, I think that they won't win many games, but I still think that when they do score, they'll score really good tries and could cause the odd upset. What do you think about that?
oh yeah, I mean you also could throw in Raymond Rule. He's got a lot of gas. With Cornell Hendricks, the sevens ace, he's very elusive and he can really make those line breaks. Also, you got to put in, like you said, Willie LaRue. He's probably one of the most experienced guys in the team, and I think if he steps up and takes maybe one of them leadership roles, he'll look to go quite well with them this season.
Well, that's right. You talk about the back line. I think a position where they are lacking is the fly halves, one of the most important positions in the back line. Um, in their training squad, they got Francois Brummer, Willie Duplessis, Joe Peterson, and Alga Watts. None of them are really that accomplished. They've Francois Brummer, I think, played a bit of age grade Springboks rugby, but there's not really a lot to talk about in the fly halves. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Alga Watts played a fair fetch of rugby for the Cheetahs last season. He went all right, I felt. The release of Johan Gerson is a big loss. He's off to France, I think.
Hmm.
And Joe Peterson also coming back into there. He played a while back, I think, with the Stormers, which he had quite a successful campaign with them. But in a preseason game, he picked up a wee niggle there, a wee injury. So if he can find his feet again, I'd like to see him have a crack at the 10. So I think maybe Joe Peterson would be one to watch out for.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Also, when you look at their squad, you got the likes of Hendrik Brousseau, former Springbok. He's really accomplished until he picked up an injury
Hmm.
and earlier on, and he hasn't quite been the same, but he's still a really quality player. But as you said before, in terms of transfers, um, Adrian Strauss leaving, he's a huge loss. He was their captain. Um, do you think that'll affect them in any way?
Yeah, definitely. He was one of the most experienced guys they had in their squad, obviously captaining the squad, so really a big loss there. Adding on to that, those transfers going out, you have to look at Lappies Labuschagne and Philip Vanderwalt, two big loose forwards there going out. So they were quite well. They were big tacklers last year. So yet again another big loss there.
Yeah, these transfers, they're not all of them working in the Cheetahs' favour. I do like the Cheetahs. They got a good coach in Naka Drotsky, former Springbok. He's going to add a lot of experience to them. So final thoughts on the Cheetahs. What do you think?
Yeah, a guy I am fond of. I've talked about him a fair bit. Is Willie Britt's coming into the side, and in a pre-season game, he captained them. So um, he'll really look to go big. I think Willie Brits.
Willie Brits, you're
Yep,
picking him?
Willie Brits is the
Alrighty.
one.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the Western Force, established in 2005. They're based in Perth. They're not too bad. They had a good season last year, finishing 8th, but they were unlucky to reach the top 6, where they spent for the most of the season. So what do you think about the Force this year?
Oh, look, the Western Force, they're always one of those teams where you really think they have a lot of potential, but they don't seem to really perform for me. But you have guys like Big Benny McCalman and Matt Hodgson, who are huge, big key players for me. They really do take up that leadership role, and hopefully they can steer the Western Force in the right direction.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Matt Hodgson. The loose forward is the captain this year. 11, I think, tests for the Wallabies, so he'll add a bit of experience. And also another key player there is Nathan Charles. Got his start for the Wallabies last year. Had a pretty good season. So they're not lacking in their forward pack. Of course, you got Ben McCalman as well, as you said before. So yeah, I think the forward pack are looking pretty good. In terms of their backline, they got the likes of Nick Cummins, the Honey Badger, Luke Morahan, and former All Black Albie Matthewson. So what do you think about their backline? Are they looking good?
Oh, look, you think give the Badger another shot. If he can go up the guts, grab a bit of meat down the tram lines, why not? A lot of tries there. That's my prediction.
Yeah, he's a great player. He of course gives the greatest interviews, but he backs it up as well. I think he had a good season in Japan. For the Force, my prediction, they've got a lot of explosive talent. I think they'll do well, and they might even do better than last year, and possibly their best season, which was in 2007. They came 7th. So, yeah, how do you think they're going to go this year?
Yeah, they will look to go all right. I feel maybe top 10, probably
Mhm.
max for them. A guy I did want to look at is C.S. Eberson. He had the 10 role last year. For me, he didn't raise too many eyebrows with his kicking performances, but he'll look to go one better with them this year.
So, any big transfers to the Western Force? Are they hurt by the transfers, or do they gain from them?
Well, look, you got big people going out. You got Hugh McMenamin, who's off to the Honda Heat in Japan. That's a big loss for me. But you also got guys like Sam Wykes, who will fill that role, I feel, and probably take a few lineouts. You also got in the front row Kieran Longbottom. He's off to the Saracens, but you feel they got guys like Tatia Faulkner and I think what's his name? Who's the other guy? Oh, anyway. Um, Speaking on transfers, you also got Jaden Hayward and Chris Tuatara Morrison, who are in the midfield. They're both leaving for Europe, so there's a few going out there. Um, but yeah, no, they should go all right. Top 10
They should
chance.
go right. Top 10?
Yep.
Alright, I hope they go a bit better than that, because I like the Force. Right, last of all, your team, the Hurricanes, they've got a very good squad this year. Unlucky to come 7th last year, but in the history they were runners-up in 2006, unlucky to lose to the Crusaders there. And they've made the playoffs in 1997, 2003, 2005, 2008, and 2009. So, is this their year, PK?
Oh, look, Jace, I am always fond of my Hurricanes, but you also have to feel that maybe with the Hurricanes, they always seem to have $1 million backline, and I say a $10 forward pack. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I absolutely agree with that. Of course, they've got some talent in their forward pack. They've got Ben Franks, Dan Coles, Jeremy Thrush, Victor Vito, who's vice captain this year, and of course, Artie Sevilla, who I think is going to have a huge impact on their season. Hasn't quite been picked up by the All Blacks yet. I think he will be. But yeah, I think they've got a reasonably strong forward pack there. What do you think?
Oh, look, going on to Artie Savia, you had guys like Fafili Lavavi and Jack Lamb who were really big last year, I felt. So I think Artie and Fafili and Jack are both leaving. So I really do think Artie's going to get the shot. He'll get the green light, and he should have quite a big year. Speaking on the forwards, yeah, like you said, Dane Coles, Ben Franks, big guys up there, and also James Broadhurst thought was pretty outstanding last year. He had a good year. And yeah, Jeremy Thrush as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. You can also chuck Jeffrey Tumunga Allen in there. He's got one cap for the All Blacks. A bit unlucky there, but I do think he's a class act. Right, looking at their backline, TJ Perenara, Bowden Barrett, Ma'anonu, Conrad Smith, Corey Jane, Julian Savia, it's star-studded. Um, will they be supported by their forward pack? I don't know, but I think that they should be explosive. What do you think about their backline?
Oh, look, didn't Bowden Barrett have a stellar year last
Oh,
year? He
he had a
looks to
great
back
year.
this one up. Yeah, he'd really look to back this one up and see if he can perform. Um, Also, going back to the transfers, Alapati Leua going out there. You have Ma'anonu coming fresh into the side. He's worked well with Conrad Smith and Bodie before, so I don't think it's going to worry him too much. But they'll look to really go well. I mean, they've worked together before, so there's no reason why that backline can't go well. Also, the destructive Julian Savia. How good was he last year, Jace?
Oh, he was phenomenal. He'll look to repeat that this year, obviously, won't he?
Oh, he really was incredible. Also, throwing out the back, Jason Woodward coming back into the side. As I explained in one of our last episodes, he is a class act and he went really well for the Rebels, so I think he'll look to go big as well.
Yeah, Jason Woodward's he's representing New Zealand in the under-20s, so he's got a bit of experience internationally. Maybe not quite as much as the rest of the forward pack, but you could also as the rest of the back line, but you could also add in Matt Proctor there, who could play at fullback, or he could play at wing and let Corey James slot to the to fullback. I think fullback is a position they're not necessarily lacking, but they haven't got as much in their other positions. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, if you have a look at the wider training squad, I wouldn't be surprised if you see guys that they picked up. They have Nihi Milner-Skudder, who was a class act in the ITM Cup, and you've also got Willis Halahola that they also picked up from the ITM Cup in the midfield. So they don't have they're not lacking in the numbers in that outfield.
Yeah, well, whenever people talk about the Hurricanes, they always talk about how they're the team that should win, but they don't win. They choke. Of course, they got a new coach this year, and Chris Boyd. Was their bad luck attributed to their coach and Mark Hammett? What do you think?
Well, yeah, Mark Hammett, having Mark Hammett step down there, you think Chrissy Boyd, who also worked with the Wellington Lions, they had a really bad year last year. But I think Chris has moved on from that, and he'll look to push the Hurricanes this year with maybe a bit of his flavour, chucking it in there. And I think Chris should go all right. But yeah, no, you really feel that they can do it.
Yeah, I really hope so. I always feel as though the Hurricanes should do a lot better. They always got the star-studded back line, but I think this year their forward pack does have a lot more experience, both internationally and provincially. I think that the Hurricanes this year, they should crack the playoffs. But again, will they have the forward pack? I think they will. I think that we can see them in the top four and possibly in the finals.
Yeah, well, I think this year, Jace, they really do not have any excuses. Last year, maybe I feel they were perhaps one game short having that bye in the last round there. But this year, I've had a look at the draw, and they're off to South Africa for a three-game tour. So, do you think that will benefit the Hurricanes having that having to go over to South Africa in the first couple of games there, Jace?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think because you look at teams like the Crusaders, a lot of other teams have got they usually slow starters, and South Africa's usually a really tough environment to win in. If you're gonna have that South African tour, you might as well do it early. If you're gonna lose, you might as well do it when you usually lose anyway. So, and also it could give the boys a bit of experience, help them with their other games. So yeah, I think that will benefit them. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing for them. So you don't think there'll be any nerves for Chris Boyd? No, there won't be any any getting used to the team. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I question it, but I don't think he will go too bad. I mean, if you compare the Lions with the Hurricanes, you've got a completely different squad there, but I think Chris will settle in quite well. I'll also like to mention that the Hurricanes did beat the Crusaders in that pre-warm-up game in Etekahuna the other day, beating them 41 points to 31. But the Hurricanes ended up leading at halftime 24 points to 0, and then the Crusaders clawed them back. So good effort there. They'll look to work from that. But yeah, I definitely think getting that that South African tour out of the way is definitely the best for them. Especially having it first up, you come back to Wellington and you have a couple losses maybe under your chin, and you really just have to get those home game victories then.
Well, that's exactly right, isn't it? Right. Any final thoughts? On the transfers for the Hurricanes?
Not really. As I said before, Alapati Leoa going out. He was pretty good last year. You also have, like I said, Jack Lamb and Fafili Lavavi, but on a whole, I think the Hurricanes have got all those spots filled, so they really got no excuses. Jace?
Right, yeah. Awesome. So that wraps up our episode of Super Rugby Talk. I've been Jace, he's been PK. Cheers, we'll see you next time.
See you later.